It's fair to say that every aspect of Nintendo Switch 2 has been critiqued in some ways, from having one first-party title at launch to the pricing and everything in between. But after having spent quite a bit of time with Mario Kart World, we thought we'd share our thoughts and opinions. It's not going to be a full-blown review because realistically you need to do 50 to 100 hours in this one, but it's just our takeaways, initial thoughts, impressions and feelings, and do let us know yours as well in the comments. Remember, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 courtesy of one amazing subscriber. You don't have to do anything special. This isn't like a subscribe, leave a million comments, nothing like that. We'll be choosing a winner in about a week and we will announce that in a community post. Alright, Mario Kart World, we have thoughts. What are they? Well, let's find out. So on the one hand, Mario Kart will feel very familiar. You've got several Grand Prix Cups from the get-go, with the usual array of tracks and some familiar faces making a return. It feels a little bit like putting on a comfortable pair of slippers. The roster of characters has significantly increased, and these can be unlocked in a couple of different ways. In the open world, for example, collecting coins, but we've got a lot more to talk about on that later. Now, the track designs are of a good quality. You'll be drifting. There are a few returning features from older games, like the feather, which enables you to jump, and of course drifting will gain you a boost if you can hold it long enough, whilst collecting various items around the track to try and knock out one of the now 23 other competitors, for a total of 24. As far as Mario Kart Core goes, that might actually be one of the biggest changes, just having more people on the track. Those cups are split between 100 to 150cc, but there is another new mode called Knockout. They're almost trying to channel their inner battle royale, with the 24 players racing through several interconnected tracks, with the bottom 4 being placed on the chopping block. It's a nice idea, and I think more enjoyable perhaps than the main mode. Before we look at the open world stuff, what are your takes on the main parts so far?
I think it's good that Grand Prix is so much bigger now in terms of how many races you have. It's Mario Kart at the end of the day. It's never looked better, it's never ran better, all the things you would expect and hope for, and it's still as good and as fun as ever. But I do think it was a good idea to try and implement some fresh blood into this game by this open world section that obviously we're going to speak about soon.
So yeah, I think that's probably where we'll spend the most of our time, chatting about that open world setting. What are your thoughts?
Well, like I said a moment ago, in terms of the idea, I think it was a very good one. I think it was needed. I think Mario Kart's a lot of fun, but a lot's been seen and done before, and you can keep polishing it as much as you want, adding new items, characters, but it's still Mario Kart. So the free roam idea is a great one. We've seen it in other games previously, in other series of course, but what are my thoughts of the implementation? I think after a few moments play, you do quickly get that almost like moment of, I hope this isn't it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to see and do. There are challenges and time trial modes. I will say, a big positive about the fact you can find some of the older courses from like the original game on the Super Nintendo and race through those and stuff. I thought that was good. I liked finding the different bits in the nooks and crannies and what have you, but I was hoping for a bit more. Like, for example, earlier I was going across what looks like the Golden Gate Bridge, you know, it's meant to be that, and I crashed into a police car with like a little toad in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's going to chase me now, like thinking of like a Need for Speed or something, you know? And he didn't, he just waved at me and I just went off on my merry way. And things like that, a bit more to the world would have been nice.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's funny you should say Need for Speed, because you've got old games like Need for Speed Underground 2 and others that started to push into the open world setting, but they had a lot more to do within that area. Yeah. So I don't expect that, and I'm sure you don't either, and I don't expect a Ubisoft title, you know, but there is a middle ground that you almost hoped for. It doesn't feel like that's here.
No, it feels like they haven't done this by the way, but it feels like they've taken kind of the tracks and just spread them out so you have to drive to them.
Yeah.
Rather than creating a living, breathing world, which is what I expected. Maybe I shouldn't have done, but I did. And I was hoping that you'd, like, you see the other named characters driving about, and I thought if you drove near them, you'd initiate a race with them, like a one-on-one race or something, you know, they'd speak to you and say, oh, you know, it's nothing like that. No. Everyone just exists in their own little bubble. Yeah,
it kind of just floats around, it all happens. And that is fine. I just think it's the way that they've kind of built it up, that was going to be the bit you were going to dive into and just be like, there would be awe and wonder, you know, you'd be like, wow. I mean, I said to Glen, I was like, well, why don't you go over to that part of the map? And he brought up the map and we were like, where's the icon telling you you've just unlocked that section?
Yeah, you can't fast travel back to a challenge or something. It doesn't even show them on there. It just shows the different places.
Yeah.
or the characters. Like when we first played this before the Switch launched, and you had that animation of the car rumbling along, trundling along before you started the Grand Prix match, and we assumed that was you going from free roam into a Grand Prix, and they just couldn't show us that. It isn't. They're completely separate entities.
Yeah, and it's just really there as a visual, like, that's what's happening.
That's what the game's like, yeah.
There are some things in the open world, such as like, almost that act as like checkpoint tags and chasing certain things. There's this little car that drives around you can collect coins out of the back of. And there are also a few times where you can morph into other vehicles.
Yeah, there are, and that was fun. There are bits here to see and to do, don't get me wrong. The thing is, when you're talking about a series that's been going as long as Mario Kart, the positives are very quick to say, because everyone's played it, so you say, well, it's Mario Kart, innit? You know what it's like. That doesn't mean there aren't a lot of positives. That one statement encompasses a lot. So we're picking apart the negatives just because there's more to say that hasn't been said before, but I just expected a bit more.
Yeah.
I just did, you know, like I thought it was going to, if you're going to make this your launch game, think of Mario 64 on the N64.
Yeah.
Ore and Wonder. Think of Mario Odyssey. I don't think that was a launch game. Oh, Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
Ore and Wonder. I thought they were going to do that in Mario Kart form, and they just haven't. Really,
no, they haven't.
You know?
It's just that area of the game is pretty meh.
It's fine. I just expected more than fine. Isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's the perfect way to describe it. It encapsulates our feeling, because we went into this and we were like, yeah, come on, let's sit and do some serious time on this.
Yeah.
20 minutes in, we're like, okay, sweet. All right, where's the thing that we're going to do next?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, I haven't seen anything yet. And then you found like this little like chasing around a few. And I was like, wow. Okay, I just want to go back to the Grand Prix mode, to be honest.
I thought you were going to bump into Donkey Kong and he was going to set you a challenge, and then you were going to this, and you were going to unlock something to do with him, or that you were going to, like I say, bump into a race car, a police car, and get chased or whatever. I don't know. It just doesn't happen.
You make a really good point there. Without realising it, why didn't they release the Donkey Kong game?
Well, I assumed, because, I mean, Mario Kart's a safe bet, so I can see why, money-wise.
Yeah.
But I also thought because this free mode was going to take the series so far on that it was going to feel, you're going to have that awe and wonder. I don't think that's the case. I really don't.
No, whereas we've played Donkey Kong, and it has that feeling of like, wow, this is something new.
Yeah.
With the kind of Mario Odyssey feel to it as well.
Yeah.
I just think maybe a joint launch with those two would have been a little bit better.
Yeah, if you're not going to release a platformer or an action-adventure game, if you're going to release something like a racing game, it's got to have a lot to keep you invested. And this does, you know, you're going to play the Grand Prix, you're going to unlock the characters, like you've always done in Mario Kart. I'm going to repeat myself now, but I just expected this mode to be that oomph.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. I think that is our real kind of the main takeaway of it. And as Glenn says, don't let it distract you from the good. Like I mentioned a lot at the start of the video intentionally, because that's the stuff that you know is going to be good.
Yeah.
You know the way that those mechanics work. You've played them 100 times before.
Yeah.
It's just this area, I think, for a lot of people, they're going to go into it thinking, oh yeah, I'm getting it for that mode. Yeah. Maybe not.
Exactly. Let's have it right. If we'd have listed all the good, people would have skipped it.
Yeah.
Because they know that bit. They want to hear about this bit.
Yeah.
And it's just not as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and that's our take on it, really. As we say, not a full-blown review with scores and things, but I think it articulates our thoughts pretty well.
Absolutely right. Yeah, do let us know your thoughts down below if you picked it up, or if you haven't and you were thinking about it. What does this make you think? Stick it all in the comment section below. Don't forget, if you're looking for eShop credit to pick up any of Switch 1 or Switch 2 games, you can use our website and get 5% in cashback on your purchases of eShop cards. Take care. Thanks to our patrons and our channel members, of course. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.